The only leaders that are on Capitol Hill are the people that are known for compromise. Those are the leaders. Those are the leaders. No one else on Capitol Hill, if we look over your record and we can't see that you've done anything to work with the people across the aisle, you should not be in that job. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, we appreciate you being here. Hello, Black America. We're doing something a little different for episode 3, and I think y'all are gonna love it. There's so much we unpacked in episode 1 and 2. We have no doubt we got so many questions from you guys that we said we gotta stop the format, stop the traditional structure, and we gotta just answer questions. We got to just take the time and say, okay, this is what the people are thinking. This is what the people want to know. Even questions that you may have not knew you needed answered. We're going to get them answered today. Thank you for listening. We are broadcasting everywhere. You can find us anywhere you listen to shows. Type in Hello Black America. We will be there. I appreciate everyone who continues to engage with us in spaces, the live virtual studio audience. Anytime you want to engage and get your voice heard, get your opinions heard, we will provide that place. But I said to my man, I said, Curtis, you've heard me mention him in episode 1 and 2. I said, Curtis, the people need to hear from you. And I need you to be the people's spokesperson. I need you to ask the hard questions. I need you to go into the mind of the listener, take everything that we've gotten so far and bring it to you, and bring it in an interview format, and that's what we're getting ready to do. So I want to say if you don't know who should be listening, I want to reiterate that one more time, because the show is called Hello Black America. So Black America, we're coming. Diaspora, we're coming. Africa, we're coming. And all the peacemakers around the world from every race who want to see the world healed, who want to see nations healed, who want to see unity, inclusiveness, a peaceful world, the peacemakers, we're coming. All right? So we're going to get to it early. You can fade us out, Kwan. I want to give, before we get into this, I want to give this brother a chance to formally introduce himself to you. Me and Kawan, we've known each other for, 25 years. And Kawan has had a chance to hear the vision for Hello Black America for several years. But we prayed for a person who would come in, assume the role of producer, and be great at it, be passionate about it, whether they were experienced or not. That really didn't matter. It was, were they gifted to do the job. And I thank God for my brother Daryl, who ended up introducing me to Curtis and introducing us both. And within, I think, 5 minutes, we knew that there was something that God was putting together. And I want to give you a chance to tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then you can lead the interview format for the rest of the show.
Absolutely. Certainly a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful to God for putting me in this place. You don't know, personally, I've had some struggles as far as trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be in life. And I really feel great about the fact that God has led us here. When you see things come together and you can just tell the hand of God is at work there. And I absolutely feel like he was pivotal in putting us three together. Certainly my willingness and understanding of what you were trying to accomplish and really being engaged with that. I love it. I love the energy. But I think today what we've talked about is just becoming a little bit less formal than we've been, and letting folks know a little bit about you, about the origins of the show, where we're coming from, and then get into maybe some of the nitty gritty about what people are really thinking about it. I want to start off. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word reparations?
It's a debt. It's a debt owed. We discussed it in previous, and I think episode 2. Justice we have a historical framework for what justice looks like. If anything we're trying to accomplish is outside of that historical framework, then that's different. But when somebody's loved one is killed, I told you my wife watches all of these murder shows all the time, these crime shows, and I rarely see what sometimes they make it look like reparations is going to do for us, some celebration of, hey, we got them to pay, like people are just going to be happy. Not, it's the justice is, it's just that it is, it's what's owed. And somebody said something when we did this Out on the Street segment, Kawana queue it up for y'all to hear a little bit of it. I want to quote her correctly. She said, the reason we haven't gotten it is because we haven't united for it. I'm here to get the people's opinion on certain things because I feel like the world doesn't know how the people feel because all we get is kind of mass media. Okay. Do you think the country, America, has done a good enough job, made the effort to heal the racism from the past? Do you look and say, you know what, they've made a great effort doing that?
When you say America, that's very broad, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say us as a race, as African Americans, we've done a good job of doing that. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's not really an America issue, it's up to us as a people, right? Mm-hmm. We can have a lot of things and structure in place when it comes to system, but it's us as a people to stand up against that system and come together because we're stronger together. And the thing is that us as a race, as an African American woman, I feel like we are doing better as banding together than we were in the past, which is bringing us forward. Mm-hmm. So if we stick together, then yeah, we can stand against anything.
So you don't think, so your opinion is self-determination, we don't need any assistance or help or partnering from the U.S. government to right the wrongs of the past?
I think we need help from each other. That's what it comes from. That's what it all boils down to. Because we could blame the system for everything. We could blame the government for a lot of things, right? But at the end of the day, it's us as a people. We have to come together. So if there's a black-owned business, we have to support that business. We have to buy from that business. It's not up to the government. Because if the government don't see us together, how they gonna help us? So yeah.
So what's your opinion on reparations? There's a big talk about reparations now from all race groups. Necessary, unnecessary, not whether you think it's going to happen. Do you think it's merited, necessary, unnecessary?
I think it's very necessary. Like I said, other races are getting it, but we're not. Why? Because we don't band together. We don't stand together. 1 minute we for it, 1 minute we not. 1 minute we for ourselves, 1 minute we together. The Jews get it all the time. The Jews get reparation. They got their own welfare system.
And when I think reparations, when I hear that word, it's no different than when I hear any. There's several words that make us uncomfortable. Woke makes some people uncomfortable. Inclusion, diversity. These are all words that trigger a feeling in different types of people. We can't let the feelings the word give us take the meaning away from the word or the mission attached to it. And, that's what I think when I think of reparations. It's a debt that's owed.
Yeah, we as Americans are very familiar with this. When the justice system, someone does harm to somebody, we are very familiar with the idea of restitution. But when we seem to open it up to the larger understanding of and apply it to reparations, people tend to get a little bit more, like you said, it's a touchier subject. Where did this idea for Hello Black America come from for you?
I could remember, sometime in the future, we'll show y'all the garage episodes. This was right after George Floyd had been killed. And it was at a time where Black Lives Matter was in the purest origin that I think it was racist. It was all around, and it was every race uniting for something that they viewed, this is right. It's not about a black or white thing. We say that. It's not about black or white. It's about wrong and right. And when we saw that uprising, something in me knew or it was praying against it. Movements that benefit us have a history of being hijacked. And the hijack dilutes the movement. And I think it's tough for them to stop something, but it's not tough for them to dilute it. And if they can dilute it, it becomes less concentrated. Whereas Black Lives Matter back then was so concentrated, you couldn't stop it. And you can't tell people how to react when they feel they've been wronged. You know, that's why there's something called second-degree murder. You know, I didn't go out premeditating to do this, but something happened that caused a response in me, and that was my emotional reaction. It doesn't mean it's right. It's just my reaction. Now, I'm watching all of this happen, and I said, listen, I wanted Hello Black America back then, 2020, to be solution-oriented and action-oriented, where we have people who, since those movements happened, have been rising up as far as their platforms. There are people whose platforms were birthed in the times since then, right? And I don't know if they hold themselves accountable to if they've actually made a difference. And for me, that's all I care about. I don't care about anything else, but is what we're doing changing things? And sometimes we revert back to awareness. Oh, we brought a lot of awareness. There's been awareness. We don't need more awareness. Your awareness is not as powerful as children opening up books when they're young in social studies and seeing Dr. Martin Luther King and seeing Medgar Evers and seeing these figures and, who have shown the world that, hey, you need to be aware that things are not ideal for some Black Americans in this country. And we're working to change that, not bringing awareness to what is. And so when we started the show, when I did the garage episodes, I just threw on a camera and said, okay, I'm going to start reaching out for the people who think like that. There are tons of people, I'm sure, who want drama and who want some type of emotional fulfillment of just, hearing about trauma and say, hey, let's just, they did us wrong, man. They've been doing us wrong, man. Let's talk, the problem is, man, we can't get ahead. They never going to let us get ahead. Everything's against us. They wallow in it. But, I wanted to let's see how many people out there we can connect with that are actually solution-oriented.
And that's a great thing, because we have too many people that just want to relive the trauma, want to relitigate the injustices that they're well documented, right? We all know, or we should know, that there's been a crime perpetrated against Black Americans and the descendants of the enslaved. We're going to get into a little bit more of that in a later segment. Wanted to just give you an opportunity. I know this isn't about you. You've said this in the past, but where do your values come from that lead you to this level of accountability that you referred to? The fact that you're even moved. You spoke in one of the episodes, your first episodes, that we're comfortable. We've gotten too comfortable, and it's time to get out of that comfort zone. If I can paraphrase what you were saying, say a little bit more about that, and as we come to the end of this first segment.
If we're going to, I come from Prescott's and Drummonds. The households that I come from and the people that I come from are people of standard. They put that in me. They put a standard in me that lives in me, and I think will live in me for the rest of my life. My grandmother raised 6 children by herself for the most part, and worked hard to give them everything and didn't complain. She kept her children looking good to the best of her ability. My grandmother Eloise Drummond is an evangelist. She's made gospel music. She's been on tickets with Kirk Franklin before Kirk Franklin was Kirk Franklin. She's been on tickets, on flyers. She's this is what I grew up hearing, and then I look at how the people that came before us got so much done with nothing. There was no media. There was no opportunity for them to really invest in getting the message out. Everything they did was grassroots, no social media, couldn't base it on a viral video. Everything was antiviral for them. Like, if there's going to be a video, mass media is going to make it, and we're going to tell you how it should look and what you should get from it. So great things they did, mass media got to position it in a way where it didn't look that great at the time. So looking deeper, we can see, these were incredible things that being done, but we owe them. And a person told me a while ago, and anyone who's going to identify with us is going to have to embrace this. We have to solve problems we did not create.
Whoa, hold on a second now.
Hello,
Say
Black America.
We have to solve problems we did not create. And see, when this gentleman, this was early on.
We got to take a quick break. Let's come back, and we're going to go into that a little bit, because that's a profound statement, a powerful statement. Let's delve into a little bit more of that when we come back on Hello, Black America.
Let's do it.
Who can take these syllables and tie them in a bow. Ancestors made it off the boat. Swear I need my reparations. He been dreaming way too long. The struggle I done made it from. Just because my skin golden tone, they think I'm dumb. Good the wheel and crew the street. Diamonds in my pack for lead. The mentals of a country boy. Hustle like an athlete. Missing sleep. Still hear the screams of the slaves. Let breath from his lips. Blood covering of his face. Yeah. Boxing full of money. Ain't no bank accounts. Don't need a loan.
This is Paul. How are you? No, this is Ajani. How are you? Ajani. He has posted. When I saw him the first day we got here, I just told him, not only is he very well spoken, not only is he a great host and made really the audience feel very comfortable, but you could tell by the things he spoke, he had a stored up knowledge, this, and I'm like, I'm so curious to hear just a little bit about kind of how you even started on this journey to be here. Like, where did this start for you?
All right. This started really right out of college at Tuskegee University. I met the Honorable Silas Muhammad, and I went through an orientation program. And after years of being there, he asked me to become a person that would travel abroad, speaking at these different events. So early on, I went to the United Nations in New York, traveled to Santiago, Chile in the year of 2001. And that would be the first time that we heard the term Afro-descendant. Our people were from Brazil, from Colombia, throughout the slavery diaspora, they were using the term already. We were using the term African American. The Honorable Silas Muhammad didn't agree with that term. He said that we were lost and a lost people, and we needed to define a term that fit us. We originally started kicking around the term lost found people, but our people didn't gravitate to that term. So after years, we acquiesced, and we didn't originate the name Afro-descendant, but we decided to use it and give definition to it. And so that's where we are here today.
And did I hear that yesterday when the Honorable Silas Muhammad was speaking, 19 nations decided on that term?
That's correct.
So when you look at, you went to Tuskegee University, and then out of college, I heard you say something. That something happened when you left college. What?
Yeah, I met the Honorable Silas Muhammad and decided to go through an orientation period into the Lost Salvation of Islam.
And did you say that there was a target on your back after that, or the target was off your back? Yeah, I was just like ear hustling. I'm just ear hustling.
Well, basically what the brother was saying is I'll have a target on my back. But I've traveled internationally, and I've been working this for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. And so what he's saying is that because this movement is picking up momentum, that there's going to be a bigger target on my back. That's what he meant. And hopefully he doesn't mean that literally.
Yeah.
But that's what he's talking.
There'll just be a lot of eyes on you. And because, again, when we consider the fact of how you speak and how you're able to communicate the message, you know, I believe, one of the gentlemen, maybe it was Brother Malcolm Malik Shabazz, he had said that you needed spokespeople.
Yes.
And, you know, I think spokespeople are naturally, they're not necessarily elected.
Yes.
Or they just reveal themselves.
Yes.
So even without you knowing, you're probably one of the main spokespeople for the Afro.
I have been for years.
For years.
Yes.
In a perfect world, you could snap your finger today, and the reality that you imagine is here tomorrow. What would that look like?
Well, for me, it starts with education. So at this moment we're in now, just saying to the folk, because it's a big movement, but you have two critical choices. You can either choose today self-determination, or your choice will be made for you, which is ethnocide. And what is ethnocide? It's a culturally killing of a people's culture. And you can see that that's occurred with us here in the U.S. So right now you see us going through ethnocide. And today, it's been lonely. Having this information for years, other people catching up to it, that the mere fact that there are things that make you a human being, and as defined by the United Nations under Article 27, the ICCPR says you have the right to your mother tongue, your original language. You have the right to your ancestral culture, your original culture, and you have the right to your original religion. That was deracinated through slavery. We didn't have a choice but to speak English. They forced us to speak English. They forced us into Christianity. They forced us into, take note, here comes Peter Cottontail hopping down the bunny trail. They're Easter. I know that, but that's not mine. That's not my culture. Santa Claus is not my culture. So really, we are clones of our former slave master. Yes, black skin. Yes, I'm a brother. But inside, everything's been whitewashed. A white man's language, name, culture, and religion.
One more question. This is brilliant. And I, if the spirit leads me, it might be two questions. But when you look at what you just said and you consider, okay, the fact that there are, and this might be, I want you to take your time on this one, or if you might just go right off the cuff with it. Do you see a place, matter of fact, what place do you see people, non-black, anything that's not black, what role do you see them playing in this future that you envision?
I think that the United Nations, they specified best. They say human rights for everyone, everywhere. And so with that, other groups that are non-white, I could see them helping us in terms of people come here and we help them get a start. That's just the nature of black people. We have a nature of sincerity and helping and friendliness. Well, I could see other nations, especially those people from China who moved here willingly, who have established themselves, partnering and helping Black people further move our process forward. Because a lot of times you get a lot of help here coming because you came by choice. We didn't come because we had a choice. And so you see people passing us in the process, although we've been here since the inception of America. We came here, and so originally as property, we still haven't caught up in terms of those who come here freely get tax-free, freely get loans. They're helped to start businesses. That doesn't occur with us, although it should. So I could see that being a part of it, them coordinating and gravitating with us to help us get our movement up off the ground. Thank you.
What do you think needs to change, or how do you think the communication needs to be? Because I'm asking the person who's a communicator. So if I was asking somebody really, because look, a baby communicates by how? Crying.
That's right.
The best way they know to communicate.
That's right.
But when you take somebody who, like yourself, sounds like you have been you're taking communication very seriously, how would you communicate?
So one of the things, really, if you join me today,
white person walks up, Hispanic person walks up, and they're listening.
Yeah.
How you communicate?
So here's the thing: most white people and most Hispanics and others don't really understand how we feel internally, because so many of us are happy. Or we feign happiness. We have a little bit of contentment. Yeah. So, and then if you're on the outside world looking in, you may take a snapshot of all of the successful Black people who are the LeBron James. You have the record industry.
Yeah.
You have Money Long, who's singing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite artists.
Black billionaires.
You have Black billionaires. But if you look at the very root and the very essence of our culture and our neighborhoods, we're in a desolate state. And so we're not happy when you look at the very micro. When you look at a macro level, yeah, we may seem happy, but at the very micro level, my neighborhoods are not safe to walk in. If I'm from Chicago, and parts of the south side of Chicago and the west side of Chicago, at a certain time, you can't be in that neighborhood if you don't belong there.
Come on.
And so you have to look at the very essence of our micro existence and not our macro. And so at the micro level, we're not happy.
Lil Durk said when Meek Mill was coming to Chicago, he said, listen, I'm going to come to your hood. Talking about Lil Durk, I want to come to Chicago. He said, I'm good? He said, I can't tell you that. He said, I'm not even good sometimes. So when you talk about, if you're from a suburban neighborhood or a safe neighborhood, even if it's not suburban, if it's not upper, you can invite people to your neighborhood and know you good. But we don't have that luxury. And that's why, as Brother Ajani just communicated, I believe that's what you're saying is we deserve that.
We deserve that.
Well done.
Welcome back to Hello Black America. We're having a informal conversation with the mind of Deshone Drummond, the Brother Deshone, who is the host of Hello Black America. Just before the break, you were going into some detail about solving a problem that we didn't create. That's a profound statement. Say a little bit more about that, and maybe even give us an example of what that looks like.
Okay, anyone who is going to identify and unite and participate in what the world is going to look like, the world we build is going to look like over the next couple years, has to embrace what we're living by, which is we have to solve problems we did not create. And I heard a man when I was young, maybe in my early 20s, and he said, sometimes God puts you in a terrible situation, and, everything around you is horrible. The people around you are horrible. The job is horrible. The company's horrible. The neighborhood's horrible. And sometimes he's calling you to leave. And sometimes he brought you to that to be a part of fixing it. And responsibility is not, this isn't our responsibility. I'd much rather be chilling at home and just working on something that, only directly benefits me or my family, my household. Self-preservation is one of the, primary human needs, is to preserve yourself, your life, your loved ones. But I know tons of people who the minute they get some money, they look for someone else to bless. Even before they have anything or the ability to do that comfortably. And I've seen enough people who go out of their way to give to their neighbor and give to the least of them, or someone who may be struggling at that point. And then conversely, I see people who are worth hundreds of billions of dollars who, so when we look at the balance, there's I think there's two things that I think lead to these people who are extremely wealthy not having those values. One could be, it's not my responsibility to solve that problem. Two could be, I don't see anyone moving in a way that I want to support. And I am not here to beat down the millionaires and billionaires of the world. I think it's more the second. I think there's less things out here in this world today that are actually changing lives and moving the world forward. And when our nonprofit organizations or certain, you've all seen articles where people start to question if these huge major organizations are actually legitimately helping the people. And I think that taints people who have tons of money. They, don't want to necessarily give to that. But when we create opportunities for them to say, okay, this is what y'all doing. Y'all are changing this. Okay, I've been blessed with the ability to make large amounts of money. That's what we need them to keep doing. Your calling is not to start this. But as I said, if you're going to identify and partner with and facilitate the growth of the world and the moving of the world forward, you're either going to embrace, I'm going to help solve problems I didn't create, or you're not. I'm going to do it.
An analogy for that is, you move into a house, right? It was built 100 years ago. There may be some sort of structural problems in a house that you didn't create, you didn't know about, you didn't have anything to do with, but now you're in that house and you've got to be responsible for making those repairs. And we can understand that concept, right?
Not everyone does.
Okay.
And what happened?
They're complaining and they want to...
I'm not fixing that. I don't care. I didn't. This is crazy. I bought the house like this. They're looking for to someone else to do it.
That was 100 years ago.
Now, so about
the word responsibility, and we've given ourselves a responsibility. People have worked way too hard. And when we look at the position we're in and the platform we have and the fact that you and I can sit here and talk freely without a threat of our life, they're not killing us. And look, I'm going to say this. Look, some things we're going to say, it's going to be people that don't like us. You can't kill you. There's not going to be a leader. The problem with things in the past is when I keep saying it's not about me, I want the leaders who are listening, the people who, the doctors, the teachers, the community activists, the politicians, the people who are sitting there saying, yeah, it's about us. I'm one of the people it's about. And if you, historically what has happened to movements that we have started that have been rallied by one leader, we are not going to repeat that. We know what it looks like. It's going to be infiltrated, if not by the federal government, by people within our group that hate us and don't let us move because they actually hate themselves. So to protect against that, everything being built from now on should be multiple leaders on every level, cut 2 heads off. There's 8 more that's going to grow back. People are speaking with a unified voice. We can't kill the entire movement. That's what we're about.
Now that's a great message. And unity is something that is often eluded the Black community for various reasons. I mean, we have a lot of things going on. It's complex, multi-level issue that, we don't necessarily have to get into here. But the fact of the matter is that there are some people even within our community that feel like, maybe it's those that have it okay now. They feel like they're doing all right, and they don't want to rock the boat. Certainly in our last episode, we had questions from the audience in our current political climate. There are people that are reluctant to bring this subject forward right now because they feel like it won't serve the Democratic ticket, which a lot of, Black people historically vote Democratic since the 60s, I guess. So there's people that don't want to upset the apple cart right now, think that it's the wrong time because it's pre-election and bringing up this reparations talk is going to scare all the good white folks or something. What are you thinking about that?
It's reactive. How long are we going to play defense? When you continually react to what you're going to think about me, you're going to say about me, when is the perfect time? Oh, the election's over now. Oh, but, you'll find another reason right then. Oh, but this is not good. Let's wait until spring and it's never a perfect time. The perfect time is now. And when you have something that you deem the world needs, that no one else is talking about, uniting around a reparations proposal that millions of people support has never been done before, that hundreds of people co-authored, Black, white, Indian, Asian, all races co-author a reparations proposal that has a laundry list of things easy things at the top that bipartisan people would say, that's definitely easy to do. And it's a step in a direction of progress. Now, the rest of this stuff, y'all may be negotiating with Congress for 30 years. But this one thing right here is monumental in moving forward. When we ask for everything, it continually fails because, and it's not how things get done. It's how stalemate gets created. If we historically bring reparations up and everyone thinks, well, get ready to pay trillions of dollars and get ready to have to, we got to find some land to people. I know they're going to want land and, they want gold too. This is so hard to accomplish. But what about student loan forgiveness for descendants of free slaves? What about, anyone who buys a house, a tax abatement like you give to real estate investors who buy commercial property, who buy investment properties, who get a 15 to 30-year tax abatement. They're not paying taxes or full taxes for up to 30 years. It gives them an opportunity to build something. What about some, restitution forgiveness for nonviolent, crimes? What can we all agree that doesn't cost a lot, doesn't necessarily need to be, you don't have to risk a lot, and it will make anyone who's going to do it historic. The people who are going to see and understand that this makes perfect sense, who are going to start getting, the people who get one thing done are in the history books. Forget the laundry list. One thing done to give America the formal opportunity to apologize and say, now we're going to take some action moving forward. Realizing what we realize, you're not going to please every descendant of a freed slave. That's a fact. We're not trying to. But what we are trying to do is give America and the United Nations the opportunity to show we in direction slowly but surely. We don't have $1 trillion yet, but can we find something we can do for $1 million? Can we find something we can do that doesn't cost us much? Can we find something we all agree on? And I believe that with the brilliant people who are supposed to be sitting in some of the most powerful positions in the world, tell me we can't find one or two things that all people can agree will move us forward.
Absolutely. Now, a couple of moments that we have, minutes that we have in this segment. There are, let's keep it 100, keep it a buck, as the young folks are saying, right? Compromise is seen by some in our community as selling out, because we deserve everything, we deserve it all. And there's truth to that, obviously, that it's an enormous debt that is owed to us. What do you say to those who feel like compromise, like working with those outside the Black community, is some sort of selling out of our community?
So you telling me right now, if we can all decide that descendants of freed slaves should get some form of free college education, and you have daughters, granddaughters, nieces, nephews that are about to take out student loans right now, but because we were willing to compromise and start to move things forward, when legislation gets passed so they can go and study things that they like to study without the burden of student loan debt because of who they come from and because of what their ancestors went through, you're telling me that is selling out? You're telling me that someone who's 60 who wants to reinvent themselves because their job was downsized, company was bought out, and they were fired because things changed and they now have to go learn a new skill set. And, having the opportunity for them to go study 2 or 3 things without the burden of taking on more household debt, that's selling out? Selfishness. And what typically that sounds like a selfish way to move. And outside of that, I don't want anybody negotiating for me that doesn't understand compromise. And you shouldn't either. If you're sending people to negotiate for you, and you're telling them, hey, all right, look, we got 63 demands here, right? Now, every one of these is good. Any one of these would change lives. We get one thing done, it's major. If they come out of that room and say, hey, I got great news. Out of the 63, we got 57. You're sending, get the hell back in there. We don't want that deal. No deal. Are you kidding me? This is how a lot of people approach negotiations. This is how a lot of members of Congress and the Senate right now approach negotiations. And that's why I say they're not leaders. The only leaders that are on Capitol Hill are the people that are known for compromise. Those are the leaders. Those are the leaders. No one else on Capitol Hill, if we look over your record and we can't see that you've done anything to work with the people across the aisle, you should not be in that job. You're people that you were hired for to represent the least of the people. You're here to represent the people. You're not getting anything done. You're in there fighting for everything and coming out of the room and saying, hey, they ain't want everything.
One of my passions is helping people pay less than everyone else for cars. I get a thrill out of it. It actually comes easy for me. I spent 14 years in the car business. Now, you might not have that same certainty. You might have some anxiety when it comes to car buying. You might even hate the process altogether. But with me personally guiding you to your deal, no one can lie to you. I know all the tricks. I know everything they're going to try to pull. I know all the hidden fees. And most importantly, I know how to help you avoid them and pay less than everyone else. So I want you to go to carshoppingfromhome.com, use promo code HBA for a special offer only for Hello Black America audience members, and let me personally walk you to your next below market deal. I'll see you inside.
Black America. I'm Curtis Cheatham, the producer of the show, and I'm here with the host, Deshone Drummond, and we're just kind of having an informal conversation today, letting the audience get to know a little bit more about you, about the show, maybe even answering some questions that may have been on the minds of others. Now, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, we're in a exciting political climate right now. Recently, there was the big debate between former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. And, you know, there's all types of excitement in the last couple months. Now, Black folks, and we touched a little about there's no right time for this, but there are people that are legitimately concerned that President Biden or even Vice President Kamala Harris bringing up the discussion of reparations at this point prior to the election could maybe have some sort of negative impact. Maybe the majority of people in this country might get a little scared off and maybe not take the chance to push the button for Kamala Harris. What do you say to that? I mean, and we've certainly had some of our listeners chime in on that in the past, and I said we touched on it earlier, but let's go a little bit deeper on that.
I was speaking earlier to a guest we're going to have on very shortly that I think you guys, the listeners, are going to, you know, we've got to know him over the last couple months very well. And at what a person's motives are and what their goals are. If the goal is not a selfish goal, then what's the reason to wait? And if we, you know, one of the things I said to him earlier, we were just talking about how being in one of the most powerful positions in the world as the president of the United States or the vice president of the United States, it comes with a huge opportunity to make a difference. And that difference for Black Americans is nowhere near status quo. It can't be. It doesn't look that way at all. There is nothing that's going to move Black people forward legislation-wise that is not going to be viewed by the world as groundbreaking and historic, because it just doesn't happen a lot. Like, there aren't major things being done. So the call to the carpet there's a reason I said I don't think he's going to do it. Because when you consider what the right thing to do would be and what it should be, when you do the right thing, when people don't react to the right thing the way you thought, you still go down and hit the person that did the right thing. So let's just play that out. Let's say President Biden signs an executive order to create the Reparations Committee. So now we have a formal committee whose job is to move things forward, look at proposals, consider what can be done step by step, big things, small things, count costs. That's their job. And any of the reparations activists from all walks of life, and we're going to bring you a lot of them, white, can participate in an actual conversation with a committee. Let's say he does that, loses a large percentage of the Democratic vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Who's staying on? President Biden? Sounds like America. Sounds like a stain on the Democratic Party. And if the stain is on the Democratic Party, then it's exactly what I want. I don't want you to be able to hide anymore behind a party that says we are for the progressive growth of the Black Americans in this country. I don't want you to be able to say that anymore. I don't want you to be able to have our brothers and sisters wonder that. think that. We already got people jumping off the Democratic platform. Why? Because they're starting to wonder, hey, you know what? My neighborhoods look the same. I voted for Clinton. Okay, neighborhood look the same. I voted, and we're not going to get into the issue of local politics. It's not what it's about. You're telling us to vote in the presidential election. So if you're telling Black America to vote in the presidential election, if you're saying your vote matters, if you're saying your vote means something, then that means when I vote, I should see something that says, this is why I vote for that person. And there's a large percentage of, especially, it's all ages. I'm not going to even put it on the youth. It's all ages who are considering what I deem independently voting. There's no person who owns my vote. You can be faithful to a fault to a party who, if we brought the "what have you done for me" to the table, and we listed it in a let's really look at it, we can say, okay, is that good enough for you to continue? Does that make you happy? You're the voter. No one can tell you why 1 or 20 or 5 things that may have been done or not done should sway your vote. It's your decision to make. But when you have that, and you just have, we are the party for the Blacks, and this is why you should vote for us, because we've been the party for the Blacks, and your parents voted for us, and some of your grandparents voted for us. When people start looking around, I'm trying to save the Democratic Party from embarrassment in the long term, because if you lose millions and millions of Black people, they're going to look at you. There was a point in time where Black people voted Republican. So they lost that. Something happened that they lost that. So in this generation is extremely intelligent, and they have access to a lot of information. So if we don't give them a real reason to say, we are the party for you, we are going to at least start to move legislation forward. A reparations committee doesn't create laws. That's a later process. You could have a reparations committee for 10 years and no laws get created, but it's a step in the right direction.
I don't want to belabor the point, but there are those, this election specifically, as a choice between good and evil, calm and chaos, sanity and insanity. So for this particular election cycle, there are people who just think that certainly all the things that you brought forth are valid. And the fact is, we do need to be, the Democrats and the Republicans, whoever we elect, we do need to be making demands of them. But there are people that really see this election cycle, that if they believe that if Donald Trump gets back in office, that it's the precursor to, our demise as a country. So they're really not drawing lines based on the D or the R necessarily. It's right and wrong for a lot of people at this point.
On both sides. Okay. And that's what there are people who are voting for former President Trump, who believe he is the answer to the wrong in this country. So both sides have people who they believe they're by voting for it, they're voting and they're voting for the best interest of the country. So it's about us. Like, okay, if you are going to say focus on America first, well, how do you focus on America before you focus on the people in America? Because if we play out this scenario with me, the Democratic Party is the party of Americans. Let's play it out like that. Let's assume that I'm going to say right now, let's hold that to be true. The Democratic Party is the party for Black Americans. Republican Party isn't. Then why would creating a reparations committee hurt anyone on the Democratic ticket? Doesn't make sense. So if you see that the Democratic Party has a problem at large with a reparations committee being created than the mask we pulled off. You're walking around with a big mask, Party for the Blacks. And there's no other group of people that have religiously and peacefully supported any party like we have. So when we say, hey, once we started talking about creating a reparations committee, once we united with people from all races who were for progressive reparations and restorative justice and, doing things to show we want to move Black Americans forward, the 14% of the population that we believe in, and we believe that we should build in and invest in and work around and create a world where, help them create a world where their voices are heard and we can start to create peace. Now a bunch of people say, oh, no, I ain't for this now. This ain't why I'm voting Democrat. We've just ripped the mask off. And I need to know who's under that mask. I need to know who is under that mask. When I rip the mask off, do I see another mask that says we're here for the Blacks? Do I see another mask that says, oh, we're here to exploit the Blacks? Do I see another mask that says, oh, we just gonna use the Blacks for their vote? Or do I see another mask that says you could believe that the first mask that I was wearing is the mask, and it wasn't a mask, that's my true face? Accountability. It's accountability. And if everything we're gonna do moving forward requires us conversations with people who we can hold accountable. Because if you're gonna, so to speak, piss on our head and tell us it's raining, we owe it to the leaders in this world, owe it to the people who look for good leaders to say, y'all gotta find out if that's really rain. That's our job, is to dig in so that we can report back to the people and say, hey, you know what? It is raining. Look what they did. They're moving forward. That's what our job is. It's our responsibility to do that, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, we really have a couple more moments in this segment here. We're going to get into a little bit. I want to maybe even give you a chance now. Let's move into the what you mentioned, Rep 2025. Now, there's a lot of 2025 stuff going on. Now, tell us a little about, in the last minute or so of this particular segment, what Rep 2025 really is.
Rep 2025 was birthed out of a desire for compromise. We've had dozens of organizations, potentially hundreds of organizations and activists of all races that have tried to move the reparations conversation forward. They've had ideas, and they all have what they deem would be progress. And, some things are more feasible than others. Some things are more reasonable in terms of, the ability to get them done fast than others. When Rabbi Hosful Mario brought me the idea of preparing a collective proposal that we could submit before the HR 40 hearing, the next national HR 40 hearing, it was something that I had never heard before, because it now says every one of these people, let's all collaborate on one proposal. And if we all collaborate on one proposal, no one owns the proposal, we all own it. And so when you go to Rep 2025, you're going to see two things. You're going to see the opportunity to see the initial draft of the proposal. That's a living document. Okay. So if you are a lawyer, if you are an economist, an activist, when you go to Rep 2025, you're going to see a proposal that is a continued work in progress, and it will be a work in progress until the next national reparations hearing. And when we unite, we're bringing every single reparation together. What you deem, I want them to give us the country. Okay, that's going to be on the laundry list, but realize though, That's a hard ask.
Absolutely.
We might be negotiating for that for 50 years, and that's okay. But if we see, like I said, out of the 67 things, we get 57, then we start with 1, then we get 3, then we get 7, then we get 10. And we start progressively getting things done, the country's going to heal. Because we don't want everything. We're not, you can't pay us what you owe us.
Absolutely.
So if we realize that the $250 billion you owe us, when we take into account the net money that the freed slaves should have had, not even counting the 40 acres, the value of what 40 acres and a mule would have been if they hadn't reneged on the deal. The money you owe, you can't pay. So the best thing we could do is to start progressively moving towards small progress. And that's what Rep 2025 is about.
We'll be back with our final segment in just a moment on Hello, Black America.
Since 2020, I've been showing people everything car dealers like the one I'm standing in front of don't want you to know about car buying. Things like you don't need a down payment to get a great deal, you don't need to be a great negotiator, and you definitely don't need to spend more than 30 minutes in a car dealership. I spent 14 years in the car business, 5 with Mercedes-Benz, 5 with General Motors, and I just released my new digital book, Cars from Home, 7 Steps to Saving Time, Money, and Avoiding Dealerships. It's already 5-star rated, and I want the entire Hello Black America audience to have a copy at 75% off. So go to carsfromhomebook.com, use promo code HBA as in Hello Black America, and don't forget to send me your success story.
All right, welcome back to Hello, Black America. Having a fascinating conversation with Deshone Drummond, the host of Hello, Black America. We were just talking the last segment about Rep 2025, but I believe that Hello, Black America is more than just a show about reparations per se. Certainly we wanted to discuss that because that's, it is a touchy subject for a lot of people, and people do have some questions about that. But tell us a little bit more about how you envision Hello Black America actually impacting, moving the community forward, moving the country forward, in fact, around a lot of issues that impact Black America, but the country as a whole as well. Say a little bit about that for us.
I believe what we're called to do is to heal the world and save the world. And when we consider the role we play as Americans and the influence we have on the global stage, continuing to think about America is negating the fact we are Big Brother to everybody. We are the national defense to most people. We are the economic, arm to many countries. So it goes back to the fact that the leaders should be making decisions for the least of them. And when, the scriptures say, if you did it for the least of them, you did it for me. That's a reminder that as good as your life is, as good as you've done, if the minute you start forgetting about the least of them, the prisoners, the fatherless children, the orphans, the widows, the single moms, the people who are less than, in this, the least of them, on your economic scale, you put them down here. The minute you forget about them, you have missed, in my opinion, what God gave you influence and power for. And we're going to take every major need that our people have, and we're going to bring you the voices to solve the problems. So when we sit and we discuss reparations, 2 things can be true. We can be pursuing a plan for reparations that will give speed and be a catalyst to us creating the world we want to live in. And at the same time, we could not base our actions on receiving that to make change. So we're going to take every major need from, social needs, economic needs. There are, the homes, our mental health, the healing from traumas, which is attached to mental health, schooling, what we need to build. And we are going to bring the people together because money is very easy to get. Let me be clear on this. The economic system as it exists right now is run for the most part by very rich people, millionaires, billionaires who give money to private equity firms to invest in things that will make them richer, bring a return to the private equity firm or the hedge fund. And, that can include buying out companies and doing leverage buyouts and things of this nature. So we haven't had access to that for the most part. We haven't understood that there is billions of dollars in this world for great ideas. And that information hasn't been brought to us at scale. But now we have Black people running private equity firms. We have access to money for great ideas. Now we need structure. Now we need to give people vision. Now we need to make sure that when you set out to do something great in this world, you're not going through the gauntlet and getting beat up. So by the time right before you would have broke through to the world, you too tired and beat up and bruised because everything you had to do required you making mistakes that you didn't even know you could have avoided. I know a guy who, this brother took all his savings, invested into a mobile barbershop. That was his vision. He was a barber. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I know people all through my community. Instead of me having a shop, I'm going to them. He invests all this money. He gets his licenses. He does all of this only to find out he can't even have that type of business in his city. That's a municipal law of some sort where you can't do this in this city. He may never recover from that. Now, I pray that he does and just takes that as, but other cultures, other groups of people, there's a network there that they borrow information from. Uncle Joe's a contractor. Hey, yo, I'm about to go into real estate, buy my first house. I want to buy a fixer up. All right, well, Joe's a contractor. Call him up. He'll make sure you don't get ripped off. Hey, your aunt's a lawyer. She doesn't really do real estate, but she's intellectual properties. You could call her and then, she'll patch you in with a real estate attorney. These are the things that we oftentimes take the bruises because we don't have that network. So part of what we're doing and what we have to bring and we're going to bring to you is an incredible network of people who will support you and make sure you have the tools to actually win. And it comes from bringing people to the fold, to Hello Black America, who actually have the solutions, who actually do it, who actually say, you know what, I'm rich, I've done this, all I want to do now is show other people how to do it. I don't need them to pay me millions and millions of dollars for me to give them access to this information. I'm doing this to protect them so that we can build things. And we need to build things with less risk. We are very risk. We will take risks in the Black community, but everyone is not built to get the heck beat out of them, smacked up, lose their life savings, have their people, their household look at them like, man, the rent's due and you put it on. It's not to not be able to have access to small business loans that you could have gotten, grants that you could have gotten that would have made it easier. All of these things we must bring to our people.
So you're talking to the Black community in that, well, let me back up. In our time back on the continent, it was very communal, obviously being brought to these shores. I think you spoke on this in your first or the second episode. You've got all the tribes together now, if you will. It's a very tribal community, come from Africa. But exactly, even the ones that hate. Now, we've got to kind of overcome the fact that not everybody, well, now we say it, all skin folk ain't, all kin folk ain't skin, or all skin folk ain't kin folk. Right. Okay. So just because people look like us and you would think that they would automatically unite around something that's so simple, it seems to make so much sense. But at the same time, we've got people pulling in different directions. How do we get them to coalesce around something that seems simple to do, but has eluded us for so long as a community?
You will know them by their fruit.
Ooh. Okay.
Scripture says, know those that labor among you. Times Jesus is walking in, they say, hey, Jesus, your family's calling you. He said, who is my family? My family's right here. The people who do the will of God are my family. If we are cutting off, I am not that guy. Table for everybody. Part of the reason is because of what we talked about, because I know that when you invite a table for everybody, Judas takes a seat. When you invite a table for everybody, the tribes, because again, black is a social construct. So that is when we were on, if you're from Africa, if you're from the motherland, when we were there was no black, white. We didn't look at each other as black. It was, what tribe are you from? What tribe am I with? What do you guys do well? What do we do well? And how can we coexist? And you had evil people who had their tribes over here. And when we look up where we're at now, this is hundreds of years later, and we are now all labeled black in this melting pot. I'm prefacing and letting everyone know, you do not have a place here if you don't have a solution. You don't have a place on Hello Black America. When we say every voice, it's voice of leaders. We are interested in finding the people, regardless of how many followers they got. There's people we're going to bring to you that are impactful, that their stories are not being told. They're in the mid or later stages of their life, and their legacy on Wikipedia says black supremacists instead of black activists. And it's our job to make sure that you hear why they have been a threat with their ideas for building our societies and building Africa. And it's our job to make sure that before they are called home, they get a chance. We have to protect their legacy, and we have to give them a chance to see. People will write your legacy if you don't. People will write your legacy if you don't. And part of why the media that we're building and the media networks that we're going to build will thrive and are necessary is because we're going to tell our stories, our plans, our agendas, and we're going to control our narrative. If something happens to one of us and we have to do damage control for that person because mass media is trying to label them something, we're going to have an army of media outlets that all at one time tell the truth or debunk what they're trying to position us as or that person as. So that's a big part of what's coming.
That's fascinating. And, this is, again, we talked about this as being a very nuanced conversation. There are a lot of different layers to it. So I suspect that there'll probably come a time in the future where we'll probably have to revisit some of these things and kind of delve into some of those layers a little deeper. But as we come up on the end of this particular show, what is there that you want to leave with the audience? People have tried this before. It's a difficult task to kind of corral, if you will, Black America and lead them into a direction. What gives you the faith, the belief that you're going to be able to somehow do something that really hasn't been done before? We haven't been successful at this before. What makes you believe that this is the time and the place and you're the person now?
We are the generation. We are the generation. We're the generation that gets it done. We are the generation that our ancestors prayed for. We are in the position they prayed for us to be in. We have all the opportunity, the tools, the resources in the world. All we have to do is unite the leaders. The leaders rising up and uniting is what's going to move the people forward. Everyone is not called to be a leader right now. That's perfectly fine. The 80% of the people run the actual world and the society. The 20% make decisions that the 80% hopefully can have faith in and represent the 80%. Good leaders represent the people who aren't in that position. So when you hear us say we're coming for the doctors, we're coming for the lawyers, we're coming for the real estate developers, we're coming for the people who are in private equity, we're coming for the people who are in hedge funds, who are in construction, and we are going to build everywhere we are from, everywhere we're at, everywhere we're from. The opportunity in front of us is incredible. No one's killing us. No one's killing us. We had a threat of our lives 50, 60, 70 years ago, 100 years ago. You're not killing us. And if you kill one of us, everyone's gonna know about it. The globe is gonna see it. And you're gonna test it, and it's gonna be a testimony against you. So I don't think we don't even have to have those conversations anymore. We don't have to talk. Because of what our ancestors did, we don't have to talk like they talk. How we gonna get this done without getting killed tonight? We don't have to talk like that. So we are the generation that gets it done. Black, white, Indian, Asian, uniting under what's right, realizing that when Asians do well, the world does well. Indians do well, the world does well. Black people do well, the world does well. And we need great leaders in position, moving things forward, bringing the solutions that our people have needed for years and centuries that we haven't gotten. We have all that opportunity to do that right now. And that's what we're doing.
Hello, Black America.
Community that we want to see.